Colin Craig says he thought of his former press secretary Rachel McGregor like a sister, but he admits some of their conduct was inappropriate and he regrets that. The former Conservative Party leader this afternoon started giving evidence in the High Court in Auckland in the defamation trial against him. Mr Craig is being sued by the Taxpayers Union co-founder Jordan Williams over comments he made in a widely distributed leaflet in July last year. In his evidence, Mr Craig spoke about his working relationship with Ms McGregor.
It's happened sometimes when people work together for long hours and intensely. Our relationship became close and affectionate. I considered Rachel to be like a sister to me, although I accept my affection for Rachel went too far on some occasions, and that for a married man, our conduct was inappropriate on some occasions. I regret that. I have apologised to my wife Helen. She is a wonderful person, and she has forgiven me. I am grateful for her wonderful love and support.
Colin Craig, our reporter Sarah Robson has been covering the case and joins us in the studio again. Welcome back. Colin Craig said he was taken by surprise by her resignation and sexual harassment complaint.
Yes, so Mr Craig has talked about Ms McGregor's resignation just before the 2014 election, and he says he had no prior warning of that, didn't know it was coming. And after the election, once things had died down a bit, he said he did want to settle matters with Ms McGregor. A lot of that's to do with money that was owed, and he said he emailed her several times but got no response. Now, the first he heard from her was in late January 2015, when he did finally get an email where Ms McGregor informed him that she was laying a sexual harassment complaint with the Human Rights Commission. Now, Mr Craig said this came as a huge shock to him. It was very upsetting, a bolt out of the blue. He said he knew he had made a mistake in getting as close to Rachel as he did, but he didn't think that affection between the two was just one way. And eventually, you know, we reached a confidential settlement there, and in May 2015, and he thought the matter was dealt with and that everyone could move on.
Right, but the matter wasn't over, as is clearly the case, because Mr Craig was ultimately forced to step down as leader of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, so in the aftermath of the claim being settled, Colin Craig started to be contacted by the likes of Christine Rankin and a few other board members. He was being asked questions about these allegations and speculation about the nature of his relationship with Ms McGregor. Now, because of that confidential settlement, he couldn't respond to a lot of the allegations that were coming up in those conversations. But he did realise that someone was leaking material, and he suspected potentially that that was Jordan Williams. Mr Craig also described receiving some anonymous threatening texts, threatening to disclose information that could only, they were mentioning Creative Colin, which obviously was in a letter that he had sent to Ms McGregor. So this information was coming from somewhere and it was being passed on. Now, obviously, there ended up being some meetings with board members, and again, he was trying to say, I can't talk a lot about this because of that confidentiality settlement and that agreement. But, you know, in the end, Colin had to step down in June 2015, and after that some of those poems were published on the Whale Oil blog. Right,
and here we are in court. What happens next, Sarah?
So Mr Craig will continue giving evidence tomorrow. We're expecting he will be cross-examined as well, and we've got some witnesses coming up as well for the defence, including Mr Craig's wife Helen, and the likes of Bob McCroskey, the boss of Family First, and Nikki Hager as well, the author of Dirty Politics.
Sarah Robson, who has been sitting in court. Thank you very much indeed, Sarah.